The conference room was too quiet. Kira Jennings stepped in, the door clicking shut behind her like a lock sealing her fate. Her manager, Marjorie Thompson, was already seated at the far end of the long glass table, flanked by Denise from HR. Both wore the kind of neutral expressions trained in corporate seminars, faces of synthetic regret. "Kira, thank you for coming," Marjorie said, gesturing toward the chair opposite her. Kira sat, spine straight, hands resting on her notebook. She knew what this was. The signs had been growing for months: cancelled meetings, sudden opacity in projects she used to lead, and most telling of all, the silence from Victor Lawson, the CEO who once introduced her as the mind behind our core systems. Still, nothing could quite prepare her for what came next. "After 15 years with TechVantage, we're restructuring your position," Marjorie said, with a breath that bordered on relief. Kira didn't flinch. Denise slid a manila folder across the table like it might burn her fingers. "The company is moving in a new direction." Kira's lips curved slightly. New direction. Translation: younger, cheaper, hungrier. She picked up the folder but didn't open it. She already knew what was inside: severance, benefits, career counseling she'd never use. Her expression was calm. The stillness unnerved them. "I completely understand," Kira said. Marjorie blinked. That wasn't the response she was expecting. "Of course," she continued cautiously. "We'd like you to clean out your office by Friday. We'll need your badge, your laptop, and company phone before you leave. Your team will be informed later today." Kira's team. 6 engineers she had handpicked, mentored, shaped into one of the most effective R&D units in the sector. The same team that had built the distributed processing algorithm now powering TechVantage's flagship software, AccountSphere, used by over 40% of the Fortune 500. Kira smiled softly. "Is there anything else?" There was a pause. They weren't ready for how composed she was. They were ready for anger. Or tears. Or indignation. But not this. "That's all," Denise said finally. "Thank you for handling this so professionally." Kira stood and turned toward the door. Behind her, they let out synchronized exhales, like survivors of a near miss. Outside, TechVantage's headquarters gleamed with artificial light and sleek glass. Inside the walls, Kira passed by the executive conference room. Through the transparent barrier, she saw Victor Lawson pacing in front of a massive screen projecting Q3 revenue charts. Animated. Confident. Clueless. The same man who'd taken the stage at last year's industry summit and showcased her algorithm like a magician presenting a borrowed trick. No mention of her name. Just a brilliant member of our research team. Back in her office, she closed the door quietly behind her, slipped her personal phone from a locked drawer, and sent a single message. "It's happening. Friday is my last day." The reply came in less than a minute. "Perfect. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize." That evening, Kira met Gregory Sullivan, CEO of Precision Systems, at Meridian, an upscale restaurant nestled behind tinted windows and lacquered screens. The air smelled of cedar and silence. "They actually did it," Greg said as he sat, eyes narrowing. "I had my suspicions, but still. They played directly into my hands," Kira replied, unfolding her napkin. "Victor thought I'd go quietly. He never understood what I actually built." She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. 3 months ago, I found out the patent for the algorithm had never been filed. Legal claimed it was an oversight. But then I discovered a memo. An internal strategy doc outlining plans to push me out and claim my work as company-owned technology." Greg's face hardened. "Jesus. They were going to file it under company IP after my exit, claiming I was just part of the background. A cog. But you anticipated it?" Kira nodded. "I'd already started refining the algorithm on my own time, off-site. My equipment. My code. My logs. Improvements that increased performance by 43%. You filed a new patent. Under my name. Last month. And thanks to your attorney, it was expedited. Greg reached into his briefcase and slid a slim black folder across the table. All the paperwork is finalized. As soon as you sign, Precision Systems officially acquires exclusive licensing rights to your patent. The announcement goes out Monday morning. We'd like you to come on as Chief Innovation Officer. She opened the folder. 7-figure signing bonus. Substantial equity. Full creative control. Ongoing royalties. And above all, acknowledgement. Your former company's flagship product runs on this algorithm, right? Greg asked, though they both already knew the answer. She smiled. Yes. Which means come Monday, they're either paying me, or they're rebuilding from scratch. Greg raised his glass. To starting fires. Kira clinked hers. To walking away from the match before anyone smells the smoke. Thursday and Friday moved in a haze of polite goodbyes, exit interviews, and hollow words. The air at TechVantage was charged with speculation, some whispered, some brazen. You deserved better, a junior developer mumbled, eyes darting left and right. Can you write me a LinkedIn recommendation before you go? Asked another. Kira smiled. Of course. She left behind immaculate transition notes, every password, process, and diagram documented to perfection. Not as a favor, but as a shield. Proof of her goodwill. Evidence for what was coming. On Friday afternoon, Denise from HR read from a checklist like a metronome. You understand that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of TechVantage? Kira's voice was sweet and sharp. Anything developed within the scope of my employment, using company resources, during company time, yes. Denise nodded, oblivious. Marjorie stopped by as Kira packed the last of her things. These decisions aren't personal, she offered. Victor just thinks we need fresh perspectives. I completely understand, Kira said, lifting a small award, a crystal obelisk with her name etched at the base. The one given to her for the very algorithm they tried to steal. For a moment, Marjorie hesitated. Something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty. Regret, perhaps. Then it was gone. Will you be taking some time off? She asked, voice practiced. No, Kira replied. I start Monday. Marjorie blinked. That's fast. Kira's smile didn't reach her eyes. It's something very interesting. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't look back. That night, in her apartment, Kira stood by the window overlooking the city. The skyline shimmered with electric arrogance, buildings she helped power, companies she helped rise. And now, she would watch them from the other side. Monday, she thought, will be fun. The Meridian's dining alcove felt like a world apart, dim, private, shielded by carved wooden panels and the hum of ambient strings. Kira sipped from her glass of mineral water, the chill grounding her thoughts. Across from her, Gregory Sullivan, the sharp-eyed CEO of Precision Systems, exhaled with disbelief. So, Greg said, hands steepled in front of him. They actually cut the person who built their foundation. Incredible. Kira met his gaze, calm and unflinching. Victor always saw innovation as marketing gold, not science. He believed the interface was the invention. Greg leaned back, shaking his head. He saw the glow of the lamp, not the filament inside. A silence hung between them, a silence thick with opportunity. Kira reached into her bag and produced a slim leather folder, worn but pristine. She opened it to reveal a set of printed schematics, date-stamped development logs, and an official patent certificate bearing her name. Filed 3 weeks ago, she said. On my time. My hardware. Offsite. These refinements improved throughput efficiency by 43% and enabled dynamic task partitioning across cloud clusters, something TechVantage hadn't even begun to explore. Greg's eyes narrowed as he flipped through the documentation. And you have everything? I archived everything before the storm hit, full logs, version histories, timestamped commits. multiple backups. It's ironclad. He set the folder down and took a long breath. Do you have any idea what this means? He asked. I do. It means TechVantage can't use their own flagship product legally without licensing it from us. He caught himself, then smiled. From you. Kira didn't smile. I'm not in this to gloat. I'm in this to prove something. You can't erase the minds that build your empire. 3 months earlier, Kira had stumbled across the truth by accident. An internal email chain, misdirected. It landed in her inbox like a warning shot, a thread of memos between the legal department and upper management discussing restructuring and realignment of innovation assets. Her name was never explicitly mentioned, but the language was clear. The distributed processing algorithm, the heart of AccountSphere, the reason for TechVantage's explosive growth, was going to be claimed as company IP. The plan? Push her out before filing the patent. Remove the inventor, then erase the invention's origin. She confronted legal. Must have been an oversight, they said. We'll file the paperwork right away. But the reassurance was too smooth. Kira knew better. She'd been in tech for over 30 years, long enough to recognize the corporate dance of betrayal. That night, she pulled every file she could from her personal development drive. Years of work. Ideas that had never seen daylight. Enhancements she'd quietly crafted on weekends and late nights, some she hadn't even shared with her team. She had always believed in being thorough. Now, that instinct was saving her life. Back at the Meridian, Greg handed her a fresh folder. This, he said, is your future. Kira scanned the contract. Precision Systems would receive exclusive licensing rights to the new algorithm. She would be named as the inventor in all public releases. The deal included a multi-million-dollar signing bonus, a high-ranking executive title, stock options, royalties from every product using the tech, and creative autonomy. Why now? She asked, still reading. Because your algorithm solves the problem we've been trying to crack for 2 years. Our own system, OmniFlow, struggles with scalability. Your improvements unlock true adaptive parallelism. We estimate a 50% speed increase across all clients. That's a billion-dollar shift. Kira's pen hovered over the signature line. And what happens Monday? She asked. Greg's smile turned sharp. Monday morning, we release a statement. Precision Systems acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary processing algorithm, appoints inventor Dr. Kira Jennings as Chief Innovation Officer. We make sure every tech journal, blog, and investor sees it. He paused. And we include a simple line: companies currently using this technology must secure licensing to remain compliant. Kira signed. It was done. The next morning, Kira stood at her window with a coffee in hand, watching the city wake up. She had never felt this strange combination of peace and calculated fire. She opened a secure chat and typed to her team's unofficial group thread, "You may hear things today. Ask no questions. Watch everything." By noon, her phone buzzed. Miguel, her lead developer, texted one word, "They told us." By afternoon, another message, "They're nervous. Something's wrong." "Is it true?" She replied only, "Wait for Monday." Friday's hours slipped by. Kira turned in her badge, her laptop, her access credentials. Each click, each signature was a goodbye, yet none of them felt like loss. As she packed her office, she lingered on the framed photo of her team at their first major launch. She gently placed it into her box. Her hand brushed against the holiday mug they'd gifted her last year, Queen of the Code, it read. She smiled. A soft knock at the door. "Marjorie." "Kira," she said, leaning on the doorframe with feigned casualness. "Just wanted to make sure everything's clear for your departure." Kira wrapped a small crystal award in tissue paper, Innovation Excellence, 2021. The irony was exquisite. "Crystal clear," she replied. "You know, these restructuring decisions aren't personal," Marjorie continued, voice low. "Victor feels the company needs a younger perspective. Kira looked up, meeting her gaze directly. I completely understand. Business is business. For a flicker of a second, Marjorie's poise cracked. There was something behind her eyes, a flash of doubt. Then she turned and walked away. That night, in the quiet of her home, Kira sat in front of her development machine one last time, not for work, not for war, but for reflection. She opened the old version of the algorithm, the original build that had made TechVantage a titan, and then the new one, the improved architecture that now belonged to her alone. It was beautiful. Elegant. Undeniable. She ran a final diagnostic. 47% performance boost under real-world stress conditions. The numbers glowed on the screen like prophecy. She hit save and backed it up to 3 encrypted drives. Let them try to replicate this, she thought. On Sunday night, Greg texted, all systems go. 7 a.m. press release. We write at dawn. Kira replied with a single emoji, old key. Monday, 7 a.m. The press release dropped. Precision Systems acquires exclusive rights to groundbreaking algorithm, appoints inventor Dr. Kira Jennings as Chief Innovation Officer. It was written with surgical precision. Clear, bold, and impossible to ignore. It outlined Kira's 15-year career, her pivotal role in the design of the processing algorithm, and the substantial impact of her innovations. Most importantly, it concluded with a quiet bombshell. Companies currently using the technology must now seek licensing agreements with Precision Systems to ensure compliance. By 7:15, tech journalists were tweeting. By 7:30, the industry newsletters picked it up. By 8 o'clock, the phones at TechVantage were ringing off the hook. 8:04 a.m. TechVantage headquarters. Victor Lawson strode into the office with his usual swagger, only to find his chief legal officer and CFO waiting at his door. We've got a problem, the CFO said, tight-lipped. You need to see this. Victor scanned the press release once, then again. This can't be right, he said. We own that technology. Not the refinements. Not the patent, legal replied. And not the inventor. Kira filed separately, off company hours, personal equipment. It's watertight. But we still use the original. No, the lawyer interrupted. The performance layer powering AccountSphere? That's all her refined code. Your product doesn't run without it. Victor sank into his chair, face pale. 9:15 a.m., Precision Systems. Kira's first day began in silence. She stepped into her new office, corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows, a desk that whispered power, and sipped her tea while watching the city shift beneath her. Her phone buzzed. Miguel, complete chaos here. What did you do? She smiled. Kira, check your personal email. Offers for you and the team are waiting. There was no reply, only the 3 dots of a typing indicator that blinked, then vanished. Back at TechVantage, 9:30 a.m. The weekly executive meeting exploded into emergency mode. Board members dialed in from across the country. The mood was panic, barely concealed behind business speak. Victor tried to maintain his composure. We can contain this, he said. We'll issue a response. Claim confusion. By time. Denise from HR whispered something to Marjorie, who turned pale. She documented everything, Denise said. Perfectly. She left logs, transition notes, full records. She knew what was coming. Victor stood. Get me her contract. Every version. Every revision. A junior assistant wheeled and archived hard drives from the research servers. And still, no one knew just how deep Kira's preparation went. 10:45 a.m., Kira's inbox. An email from Victor. Kira, there appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Victor. She didn't even open it. She forwarded it to Precision Systems' legal team with one note, handle this. They replied within minutes, gladly. By noon, the industry was ablaze. TechVantage stock had dropped 7%. Precision Systems had jumped 12%. Three major tech publications requested interviews with Kira within hours. Inside TechVantage, the halls were silent. Everyone had heard the news. LinkedIn profiles were being updated. Internal Slack threads were filled with speculation. Marjorie closed her office door and didn't come out. Victor canceled a lunch meeting and began calling former allies. No one answered. 3:30 p.m. Miguel texted again. Victor just held an all-hands meeting. Tried to act confident, but people are scared. One developer asked about the patent. Marjorie looked like she'd faint. Victor cut the QA short. Also, my team and I accept the offer. When can we start? Kira exhaled slowly, staring at her screen. The 6 people she had trained. The only real legacy worth preserving. Kira, next Monday. Contracts will be in your inbox within the hour. Tuesday, 8 a.m. At TechVantage, the consequences began to snowball. Without access to the refined algorithm, AccountSphere couldn't scale. Clients noticed lags. Enterprise users started logging tickets. Internally, engineers scrambled to patch together a workaround that didn't exist. Legal contacted Precision Systems. Greg and Kira were ready. They replied with firm terms. Triple the standard licensing rate. Public acknowledgement of Kira Jennings as sole inventor. A formal apology for past misrepresentation. They'll never agree to the last one, Greg said. Then they'll have to rebuild, Kira replied, calm as glass. Wednesday. TechVantage's board held an emergency meeting. 2 of their largest clients had reached out to Precision Systems for a product switch. The PR firm they hired advised them to go quiet. Investor calls were demanding clarity. And quietly, rumors spread, Victor's position was under review. Kira, meanwhile, walked confidently into her first presentation at Precision Systems. A dozen engineers listened attentively as she laid out the vision for the algorithm's future. Nobody interrupted her. Nobody doubted her. For the first time in years, Kira's voice was heard and valued. Friday, 1 week after. The media had dubbed it the algorithm coup. Wired, how a quiet engineer just outplayed a tech giant. TechCrunch, from pink slip to powerhouse, the woman who broke TechVantage. Forbes, innovation isn't anonymous. Dr. Kira Jennings proves it. Miguel and the team were on board at Precision Systems. The room buzzed with excitement and clarity. No more bureaucracy. No more gatekeeping. Kira stood at the front. Let's make something better, she said. Monday, 9 days after the press release. Victor Lawson stared at the sea of empty chairs in the executive boardroom. Only a few department heads remained. The rest were calling in from off-site locations, some pretending they had travel conflicts, others clearly distancing themselves from the fallout. The message was loud, even in silence, we're not backing you. Victor loosened his tie. Let's get started. The meeting never had a chance. The latest updates came in fast, brutal, and impossible to ignore. Precision Systems stock, plus 23%. TechVantage stock, minus 21%. 2 top clients had suspended new projects. A third had formally requested a refund clause review. Legal shuffled papers. Marketing was dead quiet. Finance looked like they hadn't slept. And everyone in the room knew one thing, Victor had gambled, and lost. Meanwhile, across the city, Kira stood at the head of a sleek Precision Systems conference room. Her new team was gathered, Miguel and the others freshly on board, already in sync. Greg Sullivan, watching from the back, gave a subtle nod. Let's talk roadmap, Kira said, clicking her remote. The slide appeared. Evolve, the next iteration of distributed intelligence. It was bold. It was refined. And it was only possible because of the improvements she had developed after TechVantage turned its back. No one interrupted. No one redirected. This was her floor, and her future. Tuesday, 10:12 a.m. Miguel texted. Victor just told the board they'll rebuild the algorithm internally in 6 months. Kira smirked. Took me 3 years, Miguel. With full context. That's what I told him. The room went quiet. By Wednesday, the media pivoted from awe to blood. Business Insider, TechVantage implodes after IP scandal. Fast Company, how TechVantage lost $4 billion in market value in 10 days. Reuters, Victor Lawson's future in question amid licensing fallout. Investors were panicking. Analysts were brutal. The stock dipped another 9%. A quiet storm brewed within the board. Wednesday afternoon, Kira's office. Her assistant entered with a raised brow. Dr. Jennings. TechVantage's HR director is on the line. Denise. Kira paused. Put her through. Denise's voice came on, tight, formal. Kira, I'm calling on behalf of the executive office. Victor asked me to reach out regarding the situation with your patent. There may have been misunderstandings about the ownership. Kira leaned back in her chair, staring at the ceiling with a ghost of a smile. There was no misunderstanding, Denise. The patent is mine. Developed off hours, off premises, on my own time. And it's legally protected. Silence. Victor hoped she'd consider a discussion. In person. Any discussions can go through our legal department, Kira said coolly. I'm sure they'll be in touch about licensing terms. Another long pause. I'll pass that along. That evening. Kira stood backstage at the National Technology Innovation Conference, moments from delivering the keynote address. A year ago, she'd been in the audience, seated silently while Victor took credit for her work. Now? A voice over the intercom boomed. Please welcome to the stage, Dr. Kira Jennings, Chief Innovation Officer of Precision Systems and inventor of the distributed processing algorithm revolutionizing enterprise computing. Thunderous applause greeted her as she walked out under the lights. Her speech was a masterclass. She spoke not just of architecture, scalability, and algorithms, but of recognition, respect, and the cost of being invisible. Innovation isn't anonymous, she said. It's not born in conference rooms, it's born in silence, at midnight, by people who are often overlooked. The room held its breath. And for once, the entire industry was listening. Thursday, the tipping point. TechVantage's board finally moved. Victor Lawson was stepping down effective immediately. Marjorie Thompson and the head of legal were also transitioning out. The new interim CEO, Richard Donovan, brought in to stabilize the sinking ship. And with him, came an email. Dr. Jennings, congratulations on your success. I've been asked to open a dialogue regarding licensing arrangements for your patented technology. We are prepared to acknowledge your contributions publicly and make amends for the actions of former leadership. Would you be available to meet next week? Kira forwarded the message to Greg with one note, Phase 1, complete. Greg's reply came fast, beautifully done. The board is calling it your first industry victory. Cheers. Friday afternoon, Precision HQ. The boardroom buzzed. Kira reviewed updates with Greg. 2 more major clients want to switch from AccountSphere to our platform. Our improved versions running 51% faster on initial trials. Kira raised a brow. Even better than I projected. You held back your best work from TechVantage, Greg said, half statement, half question. I stopped sharing improvements the moment I discovered their memo, she said. Why give my best to people preparing my exit? Greg leaned in. We're not them. I know, Kira replied. As the day ended, a champagne bottle arrived in her office with a note from Precision's board. To the one who turned betrayal into breakthrough. She didn't need revenge. This was better. 1 year later. The sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Kira Jennings' office, bright, golden, quiet. A world away from cubicles and glass walls that once confined her. She glanced down at the quarterly innovation report. 3 new flagship products launched. Market share increased by 38%. Precision Systems now officially the #1 name in distributed enterprise software. Kira didn't smile at the numbers. She expected them. What struck her was the journey, the silence she endured, the erasure, the exile, and what she'd built from it. Her phone buzzed. Greg Sullivan stepped in before she could answer. He carried a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Happy anniversary," he said, grinning. "Has it been a year?" she asked, though she knew the date by heart. Greg nodded. "The board asked me to tell you in person, Precision Systems has officially surpassed TechVantage in market valuation. For the first time in history." Kira exhaled, a long, quiet breath. Not triumphant. Satisfied. "They never saw it coming," Greg added. "They never saw me," she replied. 6 months earlier, TechVantage formally accepted the licensing deal. They agreed to pay triple the standard rate and publicly acknowledged Kira as the algorithm's sole inventor. The announcement was carefully worded, professionally designed, and printed on every major newswire. But the damage had been done. Their top clients had already moved on. Their reputation, once bulletproof, now carried the scar of betrayal. Victor Lawson disappeared from public view. Marjorie followed, her corporate future extinguished by quiet NDAs and closed doors. Meanwhile, Precision Systems surged. Kira's leadership program for R&D retention became a model across the industry. Other companies sought her advice. Universities invited her to speak. Government agencies reached out for consultation. But Kira declined most of it. She wanted to build, not be paraded. Present day, Precision Systems HQ. Kira's new innovation lab hummed with quiet intensity. Miguel and the rest of the former TechVantage team had thrived under her direction. "Beta testing on the new adaptive load balancer is exceeding projections," Miguel reported. "And the new cryptographic layer?" she asked. Clara, one of her youngest engineers, grinned. "Impossible to brute force in under 200 years, even on a quantum simulator." Kira laughed softly. "I'll take that as a win." That evening, Kira received a hand-delivered envelope, elegant, silver-trimmed. She opened it carefully. Women in Technology Summit, Annual Leadership Keynote Invitation. Topic: Owning Your Intellectual Value, How Proper Documentation Changed an Industry. Greg peeked in as she read it. "You've become something of a legend," he said. Kira raised an eyebrow. "An icon forged by poor management and one very public mistake. And one hell of a comeback." The next morning, industry news alert. TechVantage issued a final report. After restructuring, losses, and executive turnover, they admitted in an open letter to shareholders, "We underestimated the importance of individual innovation. Our policies have changed. Our leadership has changed. We will do better." Kira read the letter over her morning tea, then folded it neatly and set it aside. 3 weeks later, the Leadership Summit. The conference hall was packed. Hundreds of young engineers, startup founders, and tech execs buzzed with anticipation. The host took the stage. "Our next speaker needs no introduction." She turned a pink slip into a power play that shook an industry. "Please welcome Dr. Kira Jennings." The applause was thunderous. Kira walked out, calm, grounded, and unshakable. She spoke of integrity. Of erasure. Of how power tries to rewrite the past, and how documentation, foresight, and courage can carve it back. Innovation isn't a byline. It's not a slide on someone else's deck. It's people, real people. And it deserves protection. She didn't name Victor. Or Marjorie. Or even TechVantage. She didn't need to. The message was clear. Later that night, back at Precision, Greg found her alone, watching the lights flicker across the city skyline. "Big day," he said. Bigger year, she replied. You changed the rules. She turned to him, quiet. I didn't change the rules. I reminded them who wrote them. He held up a glass. To legacy. Kira clinked hers against his. To finally being seen.